good.
Alright, there's like 1 or 2 minutes. Fuck you, I'm screen peeking, this is hella crazy.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually like looking directly at your screen right now.
Sit to the bottom.
I'm facing the 4 off.
Dang it, man. We have so many bad norms. Really hoping you wouldn't catch us. Dean, you're not ready for our brand new K.
What is it? Sharma K?
It's actually you can't be.
Dean just walking.
Oh, we're good to start,
Alright.
Actually, hold on. Let me take up my check.
While he's doing that, I'll send case.
I have it.
You always want to do
Yeah, no, don't send text. Don't send text. Just down. Already sent.
Your stand has less aura.
Bro. What is that even?
Alright, the doc is sent.
What's that?
This.
Oh, the hug thing, bro. BTO.
How fast are you going? Like 300?
It's not that bad.
It's like 800.
Oh, that's what we that's
Yeah. It will not be that fast.
Yeah, it's like 8
Let me know when everyone's good.
And you guys are half?
Yeah, night. Night first.
Wait, hold on. I don't have the email.
You good? Cool. Oh, my name is Dave Sharma. Cool. Time starts in 3, 2, 1. Contention with UUVs. UUVs are popular but limited by energy. Re-18. UUVs see an increased role in the Navy. Are currently battery powered and of limited capability. Duration is less than 24 hours. Another critical limitation is recharging time. This prevents sub-hunting. Parsons 13. Robotic submarine power source affects range. UUVs must roam long distances and periods to collect data for surveillance. The Navy UUV roadmap calls for finding enemy subs. Nuclear energy overcomes limitations. Azim 21. Shielding performance has been evaluated to show the feasibility of nuclear in an unmanned facility. Lifetime reliability and energy overcome by nuclear power ideal for UUVs with a cycle of 30 months. Removable parts speed up construction. Investment is key to integration. Sutton 20. Western nuclear reactors were built for crude subs. That influenced design, so a new reactor will be needed. Projects have to overcome funding challenges. Reactors on autonomous subs is something you're likely to see in Russia before any Western power. That causes preemptive strikes. Johnson 20 UUVs can be deployed to locate and destroy nuclear submarines. If a state uses nukes to be at risk, the perception alone of an operation create incentives to strike preemptively. Encounters in Taiwan become more destabilizing. UUVs could threaten China's nuclear submarines. Contention 2 is Russia. Russia's economy is on the brink. Redmond, April 17th. Oil price slump not force any major changes, will pinch revenues, with Moscow will make up by shipping more. Russia will cope by devaluing the ruble, drawing on the SWF, and incentivizing banks to buy bonds. If prices fall, situation will require cuts. Sanctions won't come. Bush 25. Trump hesitant on energy sanctions against Russia. Domestic agenda promised to drive prices at the pump down. Affirming collapse of state stability. Joe 23. Restricting revenue, decelerate the capacity to maintain welfare cuts to social services. Destabilize the regime. The global energy transition will bring the Russian economy to its knees, intensify separatist movements. Factions perceive economic hardship as a grand opportunity. Regional nationalism renders a real danger to Russia. Perception triggers financial shocks. Bolsheviks 22. Announcement of climate policy signals demand for oil will end, motivating them to sell. The emissions increase, rendering the policy ineffective. Low-cost oil rendered revenues negligible in Russia, where oil constitutes 36% of revenue. This will complicate the financial landscape. Nuclear is unique. Adams 13. Nuclear energy most worries hydrocarbon suppliers. Reliable, emissions-free, and no longer subject to influence by producers that manipulate prices. It insulates America from sanctions. Adrosky 24. Exports decreased to the West, results in an increase in oil prices. With the U.S. and nuclear power, prices not increased as less oil is needed. Economic decline causes a great power war. Kaplan 16. Military adventures have accompanied reversal of Russian economic power. Putin knows the more chaos he can generate, the more valuable the autocratic stability he provides. A coup cannot be ruled out. The result, violence and separatism spread elsewhere. Putin may choose to provoke conflict in NATO states. Contender 3 is Kazakhstan. Energy talks are driving a U.S.-Kazakhstani uranium partnership. So Kota 25. Kazakhstan's energy minister met with the U.S. to discuss cooperation in energy nuclear projects, ready to assist deepening collaboration. U.S. demand drives market centralization in Kazakhstan. Kelsey 23. Kazakhstan stands out for production, maintain a steady dependence on uranium. Zeta reveals that the U.S. is at the forefront of uranium imports. The import volume tripled. Uranium's role in energy production caused a surge in prices. Domestic investment would destroy Kazakhstani production. WC24. Rally in uranium could further after shortfalls. Expectations reiterate a bullish tight market. Kazakhstan is a global powerhouse. Gained a shot in the arm off announcements from the U.S. to invest. The signal itself will trigger. Bell 18. Images are not built around bilateral interactions. Actions in one domain influence states on distinct matters. Allies seek out and place weight on info that confirms their impressions. Their own experiences. U.S. actions in one domain influence judgments on other matters. Partnerships unlock soft power that stabilizes Central Asia. Canudo 23. Shift to nuclear power bolster geopolitical clouds. Nuclear harmonizes with broader security and stability, rendering it an appealing partner. Central Asia is undergoing a metamorphosis and nuclear program catapults into pivotal role in global geopolitics, reshaping security across the region. That's key. U.S. pullout puts us on the brink. Karchik 23. Central Asia challenges are numerous. Borders flare up over territory, transit, and water extend to Russia and Europe. Threatened region with scarcity on a wave of refugees. Kazakhstan is a linchpin in resources and a gateway between Europe and Asia. America's withdrawal from Ukraine signal a new geopolitics with resurgent Taliban, China, and Russia. Central Asia is more important than ever. Otherwise, Casanova 22. The nuclear order is at an inflection point in Kazakhstan. Any conflict would escalate into a nuclear conflagration. China and Russia border Central Asia. Russia could station nukes. Pakistan and India are neighbors. Each could turn to military use.
Yo, real quick, you didn't read the Adam 17 evidence. The Francis 17 evidence extinction. I just got you going from Johnson to C2, the extinction.
Okay, I'll just read that in the next page.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify.
My bad.
No, it's fine. That's okay. It's
And we got it on C1 and C3.
Alright.
fine. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you want to mark or fund it?
We'll just read the next page.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's good with that, right? Like,
Actually, ever.
Gene sense mark over.
Alright, we're something.
Christopher Lawrence speaking first for the AF.
oh wait, could you give me a second, sorry?
Yeah.
I just got it.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Give us 30 speaks, there are arbitrary and require judge intervention to implement bias in the winning team, reading fairness. Reaffirm, potential one is tech savvy. The actor of the AF is the DOE. CBO 12, the DOE supports energy directive investments. China's leading now. Wilson 25 finds each thing is so important to the world where China can build models cheaper than the West. China has a set of paths to win the race unless the US finds a way to beat China's AI. Wars imminent, UK 25. Major wars in Europe and the Middle East, growing tensions and increasing cooperation among China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran raise the prospect of global conflict within the next 10 years. Now it's critical to act. Mechanic 22. 25 to 30 will decide whether the US takes or falls behind the tech battle. Nuclear puts us ahead. AJ 24. AI trading has been quadrupling annually, demanding more and more energy. There's one solution: nuclear generating over 90% of the time. Data centers are always on in, as well as the quantum lab in 23. The capabilities of quantum are pillowed by energy to appetite, requiring near absolute zero times. Nuclear can generate energy means that quantum nuclear provides consistent, reliable supply, crucial for the operation of the quantum processors. Winning is key. Thompson 20. The use of loses that is the world's leading power of tech falters systems within nation businesses. The resources can be China is working to dethrone America, protecting innovation and taking central limit, preserving the American future. China's hegemonic transition guarantees nuclear war. Kim 19. China's alternative hegemon predicts U.S.-China inevitable with rising powers, provoking declining hegemony to see war's a better option. Extinction. Sarge 15. Nuclear war consequences will be lost of Earth's atmosphere as a result of powerful turbulence caused by explosions. The powerful anti-gravitational effect, the Earth will become a dead planet like Mars. Contention 2 is uniting Uncle Sam. Subpoint 1 is Navy. Absent affirming our military suffers in two ways. The first is through supply chains. The Navy supply chain is terrible. Warner 18. The Navy has one contractor making nuclear reactor components. The vendors are being hurt by a retracted nuclear industry with fewer reactors operating. There's not enough business vendors impacting naval propulsion infrastructure and supporting weapons. They rely on nuclear. DOE 20. Nuclear propulsion was an essential role in providing endurance that the Navy requires. More than 40% of the Navy's major components are nuclear powered. Nuclear power is vital. NSTL 23. Nuclear power is a solution for the U.S. military that Navy powers vessels with nuclear reactors, aircraft carriers, and subs are nuclear powered. The limited subs before nuke power forward operating bases require growing scale power supply. It is a fast emerging issue, which is why they recommend nuclear energy. The AF is needed for directed energy weapons. Keller 24. Threats like drones or cruise missiles will require power that existing systems can't generate. The Navy's laser power weapon wants 300 kilowatts of storage that are already maxed out due to radar. As laser weapons counter increasingly complex threats, power requirements increase. These are key to naval superiority. Johnson 24. Adversaries may realize asymmetric advantage and use threats to gradually reduce defenses. DE weapons can offer speed of light defense, prevents all war. Collins 2017. Navy never played a more vital role in the security of our nation in the world. Provides a continuous global response that enables responses quickly to a crisis. The Navy's present all systems of adversaries ensures the flow of commerce and communications along sea lines. Aggressive Russia threat to stability. Define North Korea develops missiles. China has an aggressive posture and diverse missile program in pursuit of military capable terrorist organization. The most security challenge: cross-up extinction of VSR. The second is through EMPs. Code 23. The possibility of an attack is growing as EMP tech is evolving. Our grid is weak, aging, and lacks resilience. EMP because of weapons Americans' enemies. Nuclear energy eliminates threats. Kuris and Yorosha 24. EB brings out the grid. Military readiness observer. First strike SMRD calls from the grid. A military installation zone. Attack would be isolated. EMPs destroy U.S. military. 23. An attack would threaten millions and the military. 90% of the military would depend on the grid. Authorities and states are willing to do anything to win. EMP warfare is easy. Lower state leaders do not need why they are bidding their time for when. Independently causes a great power war. Prize 17. Attacks would amount to a world war. Rival powers would overthrow the world order. China strikes Taiwan. Russia strikes NATO. North Korea strikes the U.S. Russia strikes the U.S. EMP attacks would exploit the use of the hollow military. Cross extinction via SARS. Subpoint 2 is Star Wars. Adversaries are taking space. Taylor last month. China is conducting dogfighting in orbit. Advancement in its space military. China's satellites with grappling arms. Satellites that shatter U.S. assets to Russia's nukes designed for space destroying satellites and disrupting global communications. And the use doesn't change. Adversaries gain the upper hand. Space has become a battleground. Nuke energy is key to defense. Keller 24. Nuclear propulsion enables forward combat forces no longer be predictable surprise or outmaneuver an adversary. Space escalation goes nuclear. Roger 24. China, Russia, and the USA use space as essential for national security, utilizing space nuclear functions given potential to be drawn into confrontations. There's a high scope for escalation for nuclear weapons stemming from extending space perceptions exhibits an unprecedented level. Worst case scenario incidents involving space systems drivers of escalation are unclear lines due to uncertainties. Cross out extinction via Star Wars. Affirm. Ready for cross?
Yeah.
Alright, so give me 1 second.
Is that too fast or like is that?
No, I
too
floated
fast?
wrong color.
Oh,
That's
I
fine.
see.
That's perfect speed.
Alright, perfect.
Alright, let me get one or two.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know when you're good.
Alright, good.
Alright, cool. On tech savvy, you say 2025 to 2030 is key. How long does it take to build a nuclear reactor?
What do you mean?
How long does it take to do the apps?
What?
Like, you need to build a nuclear reactor, right?
Instant?
You could build a nuclear reactor with a snap of your fingers?
No, it's also the perception that we're developing.
Wait, how is
you
that?
might want to take a question.
How is that perceptual?
What do you mean?
Like, what card says it's perceptual?
One of the cards. I'm not
Which
sure.
which one? I feel like this is pretty important because you can't win this argument if you put yourself at 2025 or 2030.
No, it's just saying that like right now the United States needs to win the tech race, otherwise China escalates right now.
No, I understand that part. What I'm asking you is, unless you build your nuclear reactor in the next 5 years, how are you winning?
No,
the tech
it's not
race?
dependent on whether nuclear gets built. If we do domestic investment, it enables us to be able to have like the perception of doing the tech race.
There's no what card says perception because your entire thing is reliant on it actually working. Like quantum relies you actually building the tech. Like you can't access your quantum hidden link without it being built. At that point, you've lost the
Oh,
tech
we
race.
know. We'll argue next speech that the tech is built. Do you mind if I take a question?
So like, do you know how long it takes to build it? Like, do you know how long it takes
I don't
to
know
build
off the
a
top of my
nuclear
head.
reactor? Like, if you had to guess,
What?
if it takes longer than your time frame of 2025 to 2030 to build a nuclear reactor, can you?
No, we're
access
just saying
it?
it's essential from 25 to 30. Like,
But, like,
if we don't affirm like the negative allows for China to keep.
Wait, so
going
I'm
to the United
confused now. Is it perceptual or not?
States. No,
It's not.
maybe.
What do you mean maybe? Like, do you have a card that says this argument is perceptual?
Maybe in the way like we might have a card for it. I'm like not off the.
Okay, but like currently,
I don't know that.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
do
you
you
can have
mind
a
if I
question. Currently, yeah.
Oh, okay. If is the Russia impact about first strikes?
Let me see. Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be.
So what is it?
I mean, it's just like conflict and nuclear war. Like, it could be first strike, it could be second strike, it could be third strike.
Wait, what?
It could be any.
Like who strikes first?
It like doesn't delineate who strikes first.
Wait, how does your impact? How does your link
It's basically just saying like there's like the what's it called exponentially higher chance of nuclear war whenever there's a Russian-NATO war, which like.
Wait, how does the Russian-NATO war happen?
That would be the Kaplan 16 evidence. So basically, Putin chooses to start a war because he needs to be seen as a strong autocratic ruler. That means he's going to lash out against the state, cause a NATO and Russia war. That causes.
Wait, why didn't he escalate against like Ukraine?
What do you mean? Why didn't he
Because
escalate?
he's losing.
No. This war is different than like anything else because there's internal state collapse, which drives them to be more aggressive.
But
and
there's
he
internal
needs to be
state
stronger.
collapse now. Why isn't he done?
There's not internal state collapse now.
Okay, wait.
That just evidence doesn't exist because it's not true.
But like, if Ukraine has been progressively getting more like
But like
on
he
the
doesn't.
offensive,
He
like
doesn't like have an
is that not
incentive to
internal-
just like be super aggressive and be like he doesn't like
Wait,
there's not the same
so we can-
circumstances that our contention isolates. So like you can't say why didn't he bomb Ukraine because it's different.
okay,
That's
sure.
what yeah, let's cross. All right, we'll run prep starting now. All right, 6 seconds.
Alright, I'll send a doc. There's an impact turn at the bottom. It's only if I like get through everything in time though. Otherwise I'll cut it.
That's good.
It'll be like a quick thing at the top and then straight down their case. Let me know when you are good.
A2D, like that. Okay, we're good.
Ever good? Cool. At the top, we'll concede their SARG evidence. We both agree nuclear war causes extinction. Go to their case. On tech, first, the UK evidence is terrible. It's talking about general global conflicts risk, not about the tensions that are specific to US and China. Their link can prevent things like European and Middle Eastern conflict, which is what is delineated in the card. They don't have an impact to this case. Second, there's no uniqueness saying data centers are closed right now. That means there are alternate factors that are causing China's rise in AI, such as a lack of STEM education and significantly more government investment. Just think it's obviously going to have a ton of thumpers. Third, nuclear takes too long to build. It can't put us ahead by 2025. Shorter 25. Nuclear threatens to divert focus on fast deployment, renewable tech, long construction of 15 years and delays, not a timely solution. When Dave asked Chris and Cross, why is your link not perceptual? First he says that he's perceptual, then he says it's not perceptual. The problem is that even if it's perceptual, they have not read a card to that. And if it's not perceptual, then it takes 15 years to build, which means they cannot solve for their impact, and a double bind effectively kills their entire argument. On quantum specifically, they have no warranting why quantum is critical to the tech race. Their only tech race evidence is very general. We won't give them new warranting on why quantum is specifically key when they don't have it yet. The AI race is much more critical for the tech race, and quantum has no impact. Then second, the tech race will be decided soon, and nuclear energy at the minimum would take too long to build before they could have all the difference in the tech race. Then, quantum computing is all hype. Post-Majorana study proves. Longolis 34. Quantum computing has become prominent after recent announcements from Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Still, insiders remain skeptical. The field remains dynamic with hurdles to overcome before quantum computing is useful. Then, cut the rest of the card in the next response. Go to Navy. First, there's a laundry list of factors that thump the naval supply chains. Barton $24, fiscal constraints forcing Navy to cut procurement, delay modernization, and retire ships early. Workforce shortages and supply chain issues are also limiting shipbuilding capacity. Finding qualified workers remains biggest barrier is lack of welders, not widgets that must be overcome. The implication is simple. It takes out the impact. Colander is about general naval superiority deterring war. So even if we have reactors and energy weapons, the lack of overall ship count and things like that are anyway going to deduct the solvency on their scenarios. Second, forward operating bases won't be equipped. Walton 23, every military installation is different. Challenges are formidable. Footprints of each installation present unique problems. Moving through regulatory and complicated energy needs and limitations is another matter. We're good at making things slow. Third, directed energy weapons are impractical. Their own Keller evidence, which they did not highlight this part of the article and completely cut it out, concedes that challenges remain ensuring a coherent laser beam in the real world where water vapor and other air pollution scatter and defocus a laser beam beyond function. There's also the teaching service members to operate a laser. Even if laser weapons actually do end up operating, service members are faced with complicated logistics to keep them up and running. Cut the rest of the card. This means that Keller ultimately comes to the conclusion that his weapons that he's suggesting are not going to be useful in the real world, which definitely kills their entire solvency on that case. Go to EMPs. First, they reach zero uniqueness, proving that countries are going to do EMP attacks. Hold the line, they don't do any work for them. We don't know who's attacking them. There's no offense on the link. Blair 19, there's little cause for concern about EMP attack in isolation. Nuclear EMP attack would be prompt an overwhelming American response. Such occurrence makes it unlikely as our nuclear infrastructure is designed to withstand EMP, and it's unlikely EMPs fry satellites and can't be targeted. Adversaries would be risking their own infrastructure. Second, the DoD is already solved. Hull 19, contrary to sensational headlines, the U.S. military is well protected from most EMPs, regularly updated standards in EMP survivability of aircraft, maritime, and other systems. DoD adopted protective commercial equipment prioritized and has protected selected systems. Nuclear EMP will burn every exposed electronic system is false. Cut the next card. Go to space. First, Keller says that Space Force is already using these orbital nuclear reactors. There's no uniqueness read on any current need for more investment into this use case. Second, nuclear propulsion comes through things like scientific grants anyways. It's not specific to investment in nuclear energy or the AF. Third, there's no solvency. Their Keller evidence just says that nuclear propulsion surprises and outmaneuvers adversaries, not that it can solve back for the entire space wars that are happening right now. Fourth, we would read impacting that there's no space wars. Incentives outweigh. Bowen 18, the ubiquity of space infrastructure and fragility create existential deterrence. Problem with space debris means that explosive events can render region orbit unusable. This can cause caution a country like China from intercept missions because its own military and economy is resilient. Then fifth, there's no warning in their impact card about why space is directly linked for nuclear war. The only thing in this card is that their simulation has some type of space competition that is a result of nuclear war generally. Space is not a direct link to nuclear war. They definitely don't have a link to it. I'll send a mark doc with analytics on it. Nothing with flood.
Gotcha. Thank you, man.
Alright, sent.
As soon as I get it, I'll send my dog. Just gotta go ahead and send it. There's a couple cards from front lines. I'll tell you if I skip them or not.
So you're gonna send the frontline cards too?
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna be like at the top?
Yeah.
Alright.
I'll tell you like when I start reading it, but it's not gonna be the first two. Is it okay if I just send it like face it in? You guys
Body,
want-
yeah,
that's fine.
Okay, Judge, you have that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just sound.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just give me a second to open all of it.
Go for it. Arcade staircase.
Alright, dude, that was seconds.
Yeah. Someone had it right.
I'm trying to like put it on a different side of my computer. Alright, should be good.
Okay, Judge. Ready? Alright. So my first word. First on text heavy. They say that UK evidence isn't actually specified to tech race. However, one is just general UK evidence that proves this trial, which they can see, which means to solve any worse scenario. You vote us because they have agreed that extinction leads to that extinction happens from War II. They say it's not about data centers. However, our argument is not about data centers. It's about just innovating AI. Per the deep seek evidence, which finds that we do see innovation, not build new data centers. 3. They say that takes 215 years. However, one SPARS can count this by finding that SPARS for private company use takes only months to build it. And even then, our argument is not about fully planned. It's about ones that are going to either be reopened or about ones that can be just used for private industry. On the quantum link 1, the warrant evidence says the glowing need for scaling quantum evidence finds that quantum computers increase in size and energy used, including cooling, will become a greater concern. The cooling must operate at altitude 0. The total energy used, power, quantum volume, design a sustainable quantum computer will require efficient cooling design where we already have it. Cut the last card. But on their specific responses, they say quantum is key. However, they've conceded quantum is an independent link into a war scenario, not about the tech race. The only link on tech race is the AI. Then lastly, they say that quantum is going to work. However, they're just saying that it's skeptical, not a definitive word. Ours says that we need more energy to have quantum computers. Will be remaining in the next speech on AB. First in supply chains. They say supply chains. However, they've considered that 1, the root cause are the vendors who cannot provide the actual supplies in the first place. So it comes to 4 and 2 arguments that indicates that the directed energy weapons thump this. 2, they said there's no forward operating basis. Our link is about the directed energy weapons. 3, the weapons are hard. However, they still can see that they produce deterrence because of how strong they are. On APs, 1, they say no, you can see about an AP attack. However, 1, they can see the Curtis evidence, which it says China was willing to let it strike an AP. Read the text of the card. And 2nd, they can see that AP tech is evolving right now, which is the risk of solvency. 2nd, they said DoD is solving right now. However, they have not added any evidence that now is decoupling the grid. The argument is that SMRs decouple the grid, which means AMPs can take down the entire grid on space. 1, they say they're already using it. However, they can see that China and Russia are escalating right now, which means we need to affirm this thought. But 2, they say grain salt obviously doesn't. They've conceded this against are not enough. We need directed energy investment. 3, they say that it's outnumbered. However, they've conceded that the Mitchell evidence says that space is offense dominant. We need to have defense to outmaneuver them. 4, they say that there's no space wars. That is our argument leads to space escalation being miscalculation. 5, they say no war. You can just read the evidence yourself. It is very clear. It has a warrant says that when there's miscalculation in space, since they knew they made there is going to be a nuclear war on their case. What on the UAVs? 1, UAVs have been popular since 2018 for the reach evidence, which the impacts haven't happened. Also, Russia's nuclear energy and uses UAVs for their impacts, so it should have already triggered. 2, also dealing can do it. No, not any get their impact evidence about UAVs causing war. Nothing about how we need more energy to cause the impacts. It should have happened, or if it did happen, there is no impact. 3, dealing indict their own evidence. UAVs are still underdeveloped. All causes stop their impact on the 20. Despite advances in sensors tech, other technical challenges still remain, including communicating underwater processing power, generating battery lights, dealing the system on Russia. 190 price crash right now, March 25. Oil prices drop $30 per barrel. War over market share. Send oil to COVID as price Russia decline resulting in significant budget losses and growing deficit. Sharp decline price of push Russian oil companies to think of to the brink of profitability, affecting the entire economy. Declining living standards on everyone was proven. MIT this month finds that the Russian market has suffered its worst week in 2 years. The response to Trump's tariffs and dropping global prices, a massive crisis unfolding Brent crude. And even if we don't give the sanctions to Russia themselves, the people that import to have sanctions, which means they decrease consumption. 2, there's no internal link is no Russian instability. Stanford 16. Such studies analyze Russia from an overly Western perspective. Instability in Russia is unlikely. Putin relies on the coercive measures that the citizens understand this, and that Russia is obviously scarcity the same way we do, as when the government waves external forces, it already becomes a matter of pride. Cut the next evidence. For the Bolfix evidence, or link is a rigid climate policy, which is A, not specific to the resolution, means the evidence is functional, and B, proves that not the 2024 Paris Climate Accords show trigger. Cut the rest, go to Kazakhstan. 1. This is the first TOC case I've seen without the link evidence. The Dempsey evidence is not contextual to the plan. It's specific to an existing rally. I implore you to read the evidence there. It's merely a presumption that topical warrants. Also, empirics disprove. Their evidence has said $300 million investment cost impact, but it comes before the $900 million investment last year. And it also says UK investment trigger. To the balance is terrible. It's not specific to Kazakhstan or nuclear energy, hold the line perception of the plan, and errors of specificity. B, years of thumpers, the IRA and infrastructure have a plus in their policy to push domestic investment to prove the link on the card. Their break analysis bogus. Carson 23. Central Asia's challenge of numerous border flare up against territorial water and access and the Russian Europe, the region with a scarcity away refugees, Kazakhstan, a much been a resource again between Europe and Asia. Cut the rest.
Can you send a mark to him?
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of the emails.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
You should wait. It was on there, right? It might be. I'll give you another email.
like you haven't gotten any of them?
You didn't even get the first one?
Wait, I think it's on my phone. Maybe my computer's on. Oh yeah, I think my computer's on.
Because like I was about to say the profile picture looks exactly like.
Okay. That's... Yeah, I got it. Sorry, my computer.
You're good, dude.
Alright, I'll just send the mark.
And can you get the frontline stuff at the top? Just whatever cards you didn't read.
Yeah. I'm sending. The red isn't red.
The red is the sorry.
Tab 8. No, I'll get it. I'll get the cross.
Yeah, I just got it. Yeah, I just got it.
Okay, you can get the first question.
Alright, on C1,
Yeah.
can you just explain your link?
The link,
Just the link, no uniqueness or anything.
AI invasion.
Yeah, so like how does it happen? Can you walk me through how nuclear helps with AI?
Basically, company, investment, subsidy, new SMR or small plant near company,
Yeah.
more energy, more cooling, more innovation.
Okay, so your link is relying on nuclear like energy providing like electricity for like the AI.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, that's fine. You take a question.
Okay. On Kazakhstan, can you explain the impact?
The impact?
Yeah.
It's just saying that basically like there's uniqueness, like impact uniqueness per the Kharkiv evidence that says that the US pull out of Ukraine and like the reason why like we're defunding like support for Ukraine is a signal to the rest of the world that now the US doesn't want to like meddle in the West kind of, and so that's why there's more instability in the region now than ever. So like there's a lot of like border issues and things that can like easily escalate. There's a lot of refugee crises and all these other things. And the Casanova evidence goes on and says that since they're at an inflection point where there's so many nuclear powers in the region, any of these skirmishes, the borders, the refugees, all these other things can easily escalate to things like nuclear war. Can I take a question?
Yeah.
Okay. On your argument about Navy,
Yeah.
if your own author concludes that the DEW systems are not good, then how can we say that they are?
Like even then, like the argument is perceptual that when we develop these huge laser weapons, that countries won't
Sure.
attack us. Like you can.
So which card is that?
Yeah, I'll read it to you right now. It's the Johnson evidence. It says that adversaries may realize asymmetric advantage and use threats to gradually reduce defense. DE weapons can offer speed of light defense.
Okay, where does that say? Asymmetric advantage comes from developing the systems in the first place. So
asymmetric
China
means-
feels threatened. Wait, really quickly.
Yeah,
China feels the threat, which is why it's deterrence, because they actually work. But if your own evidence concludes that these systems do not work and they have so many complications in the development process, then how can China perceptually feel a threat?
Say because one, it's the building of weapons. There's no proof that our nukes actually work, but we still have a security umbrella, right?
Sure. Okay, but the problem is the Johnson evidence specifically says they may realize an asymmetric advantage of deplete. It doesn't even talk. It talks about
Asymmetric
depleting
advantage
or-
means
or-
they think they have the advantage, but
Yeah.
once the U.S. is the strongest or has had energy to build the strongest weapon,
That's
it's
what I'm
not
saying.
asymmetric.
They will only develop the asymmetric advantage if they actually have.
No,
the
they
system.
have the asymmetric advantage now. China, asymmetric means they have a leverage.
Yeah,
over
yeah,
them.
sure.
So China may
Yeah.
strike since we don't have DE weapons.
Okay, yeah, my argument is
Mhm.
that since they know DEW systems don't work per your own author's conclusion, why would they
Why would they know
perceptually
that?
feel that? Because that's what your own author concludes.
How
I
can
mean,
they read
a
it?
high school debater found that out in 5 minutes. I'm sure the
But also,
top
this is
officials
the
of
U.S.
China
This is
could
the
too.
U.S. internet. How could they see that article in China?
Dean, are we really arguing?
I'm being
about
so
US
serious.
internet
It's
right now?
also
Let's
an
cross,
English
let's cross,
article,
let's
bro.
cross. Let's cross.
Alright, we ran 6 seconds. We'll run 4 press start now. Yes. Whatever here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Keep right up that. Yeah. Yeah, it's still posted. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I need a.
Those should all be.
Oh. Yeah, like that. It's literally just a fix. Yeah. They don't know if it's anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
You go. Just go.
There's 20 seconds left.
Or 15.
Oh,
We used 6.
yeah, use 6.
Go say it again, so.
That was 240. We used 6 earlier with 13 seconds left.
Okay.
Alright. Order's really simple. Our case winning their case. Very simple order. Alright, it's gone. Time starts in 3, 2, 1. Easiest place to vote is our second contingent on Russia. Russia's economy is currently on the brink, with energy exports being the only lifeline. Deferring works to shift away, which triggers suppliers to sell in the short term just off of perception. That leads to an internal state collapse because Russian instability through war and internal disagreements and extinction through a nuclear winter. The responses are really bad. One, their first thing is that there's an economic crash right now because of an oil collapse. Remember, our evidence post-states this and literally accounts for the oil crash and says that it's specifically on the brink right now. We literally account for whatever they're saying. Their evidence is literally before ours ours. Our evidence is just better, honestly. Then they say that there's no internal instability and they try and indict our authors. One issue with this. All of our authors in this round agree on the same exact thing, that when Putin feels threatened, he acts more coercively. Both and his people believe that the West is attacking them, which is why he launches an attack in the first place, to seem like a strong autocrat. We're both agreeing on the same thing. Their response is just trying to indict ours when we're both agreeing. Then they say that the Baltic's evidence is not good because it's not a rigid climate policy. One, absolutely it is. Then they say, why didn't the Paris Climate Accord trigger? Remember, our Adams 13 evidence specifically isolates that nuclear energy is specifically triggering for these hydrocarbon suppliers. They feel specifically threatened because nuclear energy is so much stronger than any other climate policy for a list of warrants in the Adams 13 evidence. For example, it says that it's not subject to influence by producers that manipulate prices. It's emissions-free, and there's a litany of reasons for why they feel specifically threatened by nuclear energy, which is why it is perceptual and why it's the best argument in today's round. On the weighing debate, this is where it's game over and impossible to vote for the AF. One, on time frame. They've conceded that the announcement of the AF is enough to trigger oil companies to sell quickly, which tanks the economy and quickly causes state collapse. They have no perceptual time frame on all three of their arguments because all of them rely on nuclear energy being built and implemented. They did not specify once that they're going to be restarting older reactors in any of their contentions other than in Cross and even if that's the case, they still take a long time to just build up all these old reactors which are from like the 80s and 90s. There is no way you're buying that their time frame is better than ours when in every single one of their contentions they need the nuclear reactors to be up and running, which they do not have. Down on a Lincoln, state collapse links into most of their scenarios. Russia becomes aggressive in space with coups in the government. There are more threats to U.S. soil itself on their Uncle Sam agreement, and tech is developed is worsened because we're focusing more on military spending because we're trying to counter what's it called Russia, and we're less focused on the tech race. Then third, on probability, there's no unique reason China hasn't attacked our Navy systems or deployed EMPs, which is also just shown by their lack of uniqueness on the arguments where they have no specific conflict scenario. On their case, this is where it's really game over. On tech, they have conceded there's no uniqueness right now saying that data centers are closing right now. That means there are alternate factors for why China's rise in AI, such as lack of STEM education and significantly more government investors. There's tons of thumpers. Then Dean says it's not about data centers, but the reason why nuclear helps with AI is because they provide electricity data centers for their innovation is terminal because that's conceded. That's literally how AI gets helped because it helps with data center energy. Then go down to the Navy. They have conceded that the DE weapons don't even work in the first place. Their own author says so. It's not perceptual in the slightest. Their evidence is absolutely horrendous. They're not just going to see us investing in nuclear, see us investing in a DE and suddenly believe it works. They have to see it working in the first place. On EMPs, actually no, on space, they've conceded that there's no space wars. The Bowen evidence was conceded out of the last speech, and on EMPs, they've already conceded that the DoD is solving the status quo.
Okay.
We'll take some credit.
Wait, real quick. You said that this evidence says clearly like nuclear is worse. Which piece of evidence was that again? I think I missed off.
What do you mean nuclear is worse?
It is the front line on Russia. The third front line is like.
Oh yeah, the Adams 13 evidence. It says nuclear energy most worries hydrocarbon suppliers.
Adams, you said.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start prep now. Pausing prep real quick. You said that your evidence postdates. Which evidence were you talking about?
The first car on Russia.
Redmond.
Yeah.
That's done. That's all three.
Alright, it's gonna be weighing neg. There's a few like carded meta weighing.
Do you guys want that sent right now?
Yeah.
Or is it-
Yeah.
Okay.
Gmail's on that.
I sent it.
Alright.
I'll look it up really quick.
Alright, that'll be on the weighing page.
Wait, what is the order? Your case, wait, our case.
Yeah.
Alright, sounds good.
Give us 36 they are arbitrary and require judge intervention to implement bias on the winning team, reading fairness. We're going for space. China and Russia are developing space nuclear weapons and increasing aggressiveness. Affirming is key to defense because of propulsion, able to infinitely outmaneuver attacks. Space is an offense-dominant domain and bound for miscalculation, leading to first strike instability, causing nuclear retaliation and extinction via nuclear tornadoes. They have conceded that there will be an inevitable war that kills everyone. That's really bad for them because it gives us try or die. That's the UK 25 evidence. Let's go into the front lining. First, on space, a 10 seconds to extend response and concede the front line. There was no warrant extended for no space war. They have conceded the argument is not about a space war. It's about space miscalc and a nuclear real world strike because of the uncertainty in space because it is a new offensive domain. But let's go into the weighing. Firstly, their time frame evidence is really bad. They say it's perceptual. In fact, Western propaganda overblows the issue. There's no their evidence is clearly about the climate policy, which stumps this. Also, try or die. We're all going to die anyway. Per the UK evidence, which goes conceded. So it's a try or die for the affirmative. This you prefer this because we have magnitude because every second we delay means 4 more people die in the neg. World Cup 25. 104 million babies are born every year, more than 4 to best. Or it's every single. The average fertility is 2.5, meaning the world is population is growing. Their decision calculus is wrong. Extinction in the neg is inevitable. The average is the only way to preserve the human race. Voting neg only prolongs global suffering before a final catastrophe. Pettigrew 25. The best means to their end might be to hasten rather than prevent extinction. The long miserable futures is clearly the worst case outcome, and the long unhappy one is the best case. The negative effect of the increase of the long miserable futures sufficient to swamp the positive effect of the increase in the probability of long happy future. Pettigrew continues that for any sufficiently risk adverse individual, the morally correct choice is to hasten extinction. In fact, our longer time frame makes up impact our shorter time frame makes our impact preferably. They cause global suffering in the interim. A great power war would cause unimaginable suffering for everyone alive today. Is connected to multiple risk. Even without a full war, could hasten dangerous technologies, breakdown of cooperation that precludes international agreements to mitigate existential risks. On the proper weighing, it links into nuclear war because the Chinese econ takes even more because countries don't low trade during the wartime causing their impact instantly and faster since economic efforts Russia can take to stop the crash before wartime. On their weighing, on the Lincolns, none of these were warranted. Do not let the item go up and throw a Hail Mary at new warrant. On their case, on Russia, they see the evidence posted, but that doesn't matter, and so far they have conceded the warranting in a downward trend worse than COVID collapses soon, not on brink. 2, they say that all the offers agree on instability backlash. No, they don't. The response is conceded in the card and that Western propaganda blows up the threat and that Russia is actually not going to escalate. Then they say it's a rigid climate policy. No, it isn't. Has read a climate change link and their evidence is about hydrocarbon suppliers, about U.S. companies, not Russia. That's bad for them because their entire argument isn't topical. That means the argument is not about perception because it doesn't even talk about the U.S. companies. But go back onto the meta wing. It's better to just rip off the band-aid right away than slowly rip it off.
Alright, you good, Brandon?
Yeah.
Alright, can I take first question?
Yeah.
Alright, Chris, can you explain me the meta wing?
Alright,
so-
oh yeah, you got it.
Okay, so you've conceded that right now extinction is inevitable. So we have, per your own evidence, right? You say the affirmative kills us all, right? Instantly, perceptually.
Sure.
So we're saying that if we're all going to die anyway in the negative world, it's better to, one, just rip off the band-aid really fast and just let it go, right? Rather than prolonging suffering and just slowly ripping off that band-aid, in which that causes more suffering, more deaths, because one, if you wait for that time frame to go longer.
Can I ask a really quick follow-up?
Yeah.
You say we're all going to die per the UK evidence, which goes conceded, but that's under your C1 and you go for your C4.
So two things. One, even if like you want to like be really picky about the UK evidence, the argument is this. Let's say you buy their defense, right? And our arguments like cause extinction, and you buy their arguments cause extinction too. The argument is that if both worlds cause extinction, you should vote for the team, which is the AF, that has the extinction impact sooner. Because one, since they have the longer time frame, let's say the net causes.
Wait, we agree with that. But the issue with that.
I'm re-explaining it because of your question. So if the if negating means that it happens in the long run, that means when that extinction happens, you kill millions more people because of birth rates. But in the AF, if you vote for the AF and kill everyone, it's less people, so it's a lower magnitude, so you vote that on magnitude.
And then also you prevent suffering because,
also it says that suffering happens in the interim, so you want it ended.
I understand your card. The issue is, you're saying you were trying to solve for C1 because C1 is inevitable extinction, not C4. You can't say try or die if it's a different contention.
No.
They would have to be both on the same contention. That way you could actually say try or die.
We can extend a single piece of evidence.
We can extend a piece of evidence.
We don't have to extend the entire argument to extend.
Wait, what do you? That's your literal tag. You say
Wait,
we're all gonna die.
Dean,
anyway.
can we just
wait.
Can we logically think about this? It's try or die. You didn't extend the try part, so it's just die or die now.
The try part is our C4 or C3.
No, wait, you can't try to solve the C1 impact with the C4 contention.
C1 impact is clarified in rebuttal that is not an impact. The C1 impact is try or die uniqueness. It's frontline on your flow. That the UK evidence is a hidden uniqueness.
This
not about
this makes no sense. You would have to somehow prove
This
it.
is C1 is about China race. We snuck in two pieces of evidence. The first is UK, which is just general uniqueness claim. The second is Lapin, which is a general quantum claim.
What is the UK
evidence? UK evidence says that there's an inevitable great power war because of rising tensions around the world.
Dean, how does space solve the great power war?
That's what we're saying. Even if it doesn't, you still vote for us. Since
What?
our extinction
No,
happens
because we would
earlier.
rather just rip off the band and then slowly die.
This is
Okay,
just saying for affluence.
No. If we both agree extinction happens in
Wait,
both
Dean, why
worlds,
did you start with your case with like affluence no matter what?
we both listen. If we both lead to extinction, you vote for the team that causes extinction soonest, which is by voting AF because you're instant time frame.
Also, the
And if you don't want to buy that, you can just look at the defense which we extended. So either way, defense, offense, uniqueness, you're voting AF.
Try that just doesn't make sense, but okay.
It's pretty.
We have
pretty much
15 seconds. We'll run starting now. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Wait, why can't I? Yeah.
Okay, that's prep.
Alright.
Can I get the table?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll start on like clearing up the wing, and then it'll go neg half. Is that pretty good?
Yeah.
Cool. On the wing debate, extend our time frame in comparison that they've conceded the announcement of the AF is enough to trigger oil companies to sell quickly, which tanks the economy in the short term and quickly causes state collapse. All he says is that the West overblows the threat. This one isn't responsive to the evidence that Dave gives you that tells you that nuclear is what uniquely worries hydrocarbon suppliers, and second, doesn't even respond to the reason behind the time frame, which is what oil suppliers will see that in the long term they're going to collapse, which is why they sell in the short term. The internal warrant is completely conceded. The time frame is definitely clean on our side. At that point, we would say that time frame come before their fake try or die wing because they'll cause extinction before they can even attempt to solve climate change. Really quickly on their try or die. They read uniqueness on C1 talking about a land great power war, and then their C4 is talking about space threats. So they cannot solve for anything. There's no try because the link that they've extended on space is not talking about solving for great power war on land, but rather talking about solving in the space threats, which means that they do not have a try or die, and all the three cards that we use are completely useless. They have no impact, and our impact is the only one that's actual great power war that's on our side. At that point, the Lincoln was 100% conceded. The Christian said that there's no warrant, but it's really, really simple. We tell you that Russia becomes aggressive in space when there's collapse in the government because there's coups, meaning there are more threats to U.S. soil. And whenever we focus on things like military conflict, which is what Dave said, that in the scenario in C2, we can't focus on things like space development, which is conceded link from summary, and that's conceded Lincoln. They've lost the time for debate. You don't even have to flip your page because you're already winning on the Russia argument. But specifically on their front lines, they say there's a downward spiral right now. Our uniqueness post dates and accounts for this and says that because they're shipping more means that the post date does matter, and the uniqueness is a downward spiral. We're on the brink right now. Then they say that there's no instability, but our argument is that that we agree that Putin acts coercive, which is why he's going to cause the first strike whenever there's a perception in the government that there's elites that are going to take over. They say that Baltics is rigid climate policy, but hydrocarbon is oil. That's exactly what it is. So obviously nuclear war is the hydrocarbon suppliers. The evidence is really good. Extend the argument. Russia's economy is currently on the brink with energy exports being the only lifeline. Affirming Russia shift away with trigger suppliers to sell in the short term. This leads to an internal state collapse, causing Russian instability through war and internal disagreements and extinction through nuclear winter. The route is really simple. There's no wing for them because they extended C1 uniqueness on their C4. Time frame is conceded. The Lincoln is dropped. It should be game over for Southlake.
Got it. Okay, it's gonna be Wang, then Arcus. Okay. We have impact turn time frame. Dave can see two pieces of uniqueness on both contentions. First, the candidates, which says that there's going to be a great power war right now in the status quo, which takes 15 years or longer. Second, Dave can see that space war is also inevitable, which also takes that same amount of time frame. However, negating means instant extinction. That is on the better. Affirming means instant extinction for their own arguments, which means you vote affirmative to one, kill less people because of birth rates, the two, and suffering because during greater wartime periods, more people suffer, which means there's more on net, less quality of life, which outweighs their impacts. Put simply, you vote affirmative to cause extinction, but you vote negative to cause extinction for more people, so you vote after you save the amount of lives per both agreed magnitude way. Extend space. China, Russia developing space nuclear weapons, increasing aggressiveness, affirmative key defense because of propulsion being able to influence outmaneuver attack space, often dominated bound for miscalculating first chicken, splitting, causing nuclear retaliation, and extinction via nuclear tornadoes. If you don't want to buy the wing stuff, you can buy the impactors. No, there's nothing extended on the sea. I've also conceded the link in that when there's a space war, it leads to worse Russian econ. Now on the way back again, they say that we extend uniqueness to C1, but we just extended like two separate impact scenarios, which means in the AF, no matter what, in the neg, no matter what, there will be a war in 15 years, which means in 15 years, more people die in that war. But right now, if everyone were to die, that means less people die. So you voted for him to kill everyone, but less people. On their case. First, coerciveness. First, they can say that Western propaganda is about their internal life. They say, oh, we agree to coerciveness, but the fact is coerciveness does not equal strike. It's stay instability and striking. That is Western propaganda. Say there's 0% chance of their internal link, which means if you don't want to buy their argument and you don't want to buy the wing, you can buy it on our argument. Also, on their wing, like I said, and threw a Hail Mary in his last speech with new warning in the Lincoln. Do not buy it. I'm not going to humor by giving a response. Also, Dave can see that the perceptual link is also about just U.S. hydrocarbon companies, which is inherently not going to trigger their link. So either their link doesn't trigger, you vote on the cleanest extinction impact, which is space, or their link triggers and our uniqueness triggers, which means you still voted for it to kill less people in the status quo. Because voting for the neg means that you kill more people in 15 years. Voting for the AF means you kill less people right now because of birth rates. 100% conceded warranting. Don't let them win this.
Good round.
Alright, that was kind of all over the place. But yeah. So on this this weird spark, not really, but extinction good stuff, I don't see why I shouldn't buy it. If I buy that we should prioritize the team that brings extinction sooner, or makes the least amount of people suffer, and you guys are winning on time frame, I don't really know what you're saying that they can't extend the UK card on C1. They can extend the card if they extend it in summary, and also if you're winning that great power war happens first, I don't have a clear reason not to vote on this. It's not my favorite thing to vote on, but I end up affirming off of that way, because I think it would be more strategic for you guys to just read a warrant for why that's not true, as opposed to trying because I don't necessarily think they're not winning off this way, because I think they are. I think they are. Regardless, I think on Russia, for me to vote here, AF would need to do a lot better job giving warning for specifically why this change to global oil prices from nuclear energy creates a type of state collapse that's unique from past sanctions and fluctuations. I have this draft for evidence we don't that says that Russia doesn't specifically need to nuke despite shocks because of Putin's power. And I don't know, we have had past precedent of coercive energy policy, sanctions, all these kind of things that dump and have happened in the past, that Russia affects the global supply of oil. And I just I don't see a specific reason that this is regardless just on this argument why Russia would first strike when we've had all these things before with Ukraine and whatnot. And then on space, there's just there isn't much defense there that gets extended throughout the round. So even like on the substance level, even though you're like winning on the time frame, I don't like. I would have to evaluate that differently. But yeah, I don't. Again, at the top level, I don't see a reason why I should like vote off of that way.
Alright, wait, what was the explanation they had in final on like the Russia scenario? Like, what was the defense explanation that you got?
Like just like the same numbers that like there's like no reason why this unique change in oil prices will cause state collapse that hasn't happened in the past.
Wait, so there was like the no instability card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, where does that card like mention oil at all?
What do you mean no instability card?
That card is just talking about general.
Wait, was this? Did I say the right card? Hold on. What it's saying like specifically that Russia like doesn't strike when there's issues, and then there's the other card that says they mention that Russian instability, Russian oil prices have like fluctuated massively in the status quo and in the past.
Wait, so sure, but the extension of the argument is that like the fluctuations lead to like Russian economic collapse, and that's why Putin strikes.
Yeah.
Which was like extended in both speeches.
But like I don't like why has that not happened in the past? Like why does like I don't get it like convincing enough scenario for why like Russian instability like leads to first strike, considering like oil prices are down right now, there's fluctuations, like and the Stratford card that tells me like there's Russian internal instability doesn't lead to like new war. I just don't think the collapse gets resolved.
Also, what do you think of the winning?
Which one? The Russia like becomes aggressive, distracts from peace in Russia?
No, just like the
Like what do you think of the strat he's saying?
yeah.
For which argument? Your thing?
The time frame.
Like we should all just die right now.
Like what are your like opinions on it? Like
I don't know. Like it's kind of I feel like it's late. Like
Isn't it like Spark and just
yeah,
second
it's
summary?
just Spark and second like which
Yeah.
is
So you
not
just
my favorite.
evaluated it new.
What's more so meta?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like fair to do as meta weighing. I don't, and if you don't want me to consider it meta weighing, you should give me a reason why I shouldn't consider it meta weighing.
Okay.
But I think at the point where you are directly comparing two arguments and telling me why I should vote for like time frame, and I don't get anything from you of why I shouldn't do that, I don't like know what I'm supposed to do at that point. Like it's definitely